How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the channel. This video begins the second part of a 5-part series ranking all 50 states by natural beauty. There is some amazing scenery in all 50 states. Some just have more than others. If you missed the first video, it included several states from the Midwest and Great Plains, which probably shouldn't come as much of a surprise. With that said, we should start seeing a little more diversity moving forward. Let's jump right in. Number 40, Nevada. Nevada is the first Western state to appear on this list, and I had trouble ranking this one so low. Despite the complete lack of anything green, it is a mountainous state, and it certainly has its areas. I personally love Valley of Fire State Park, and to be honest, I like the isolation. Driving 50 miles and not seeing another car is great, but it's not for everyone. And the reality is, most of the state is so uninteresting that the federal government said, you know what, let's just drop nuclear bombs all over this place. Number 39, Delaware. Delaware is a small state and doesn't really stand out from the pack, but it is a coastal state and still has some decent beaches. They also have some nice marshlands, hikes, gardens, and wildlife refuges that are worth exploring if you find yourself in this state. There's 17 state parks in Delaware, and you might be surprised by some of the natural beauty here. Number 38, Alabama. While Alabama is still ranked in the bottom half of this list, they do fare better than some of their Deep South counterparts, like Mississippi or Louisiana. In part, that's because they have better beaches. Their white sand beaches may not be overly astonishing, but they are still underrated. And while a good chunk of Alabama is flat, as you would expect, there are some nice hilly areas in the central part of the state. Number 37, Georgia. Georgia's beauty varies depending on whether you're in the southern part of the state or the northern part of the state. To the south, you have an abundance of live oaks and Spanish moss, which gives this state a distinctive southern charm. To the north, you start to enter the foothills of the Appalachians. And while you're not quite in the Smokies yet, the Blue Ridge Mountains begin in Georgia and are respectable in their own right. Number 36, Ohio. Ohio has a reputation of being flat and uninteresting, but there's actually quite a bit to like here. The southern part of the state is quite hilly, which shouldn't come as a surprise. After all, it does border West Virginia. And the northern part of the state has plenty of coastline along Lake Erie. In addition to this, they have lots of caves to explore and some really nice hikes and waterfalls scattered throughout the state. If you're ever passing through Ohio, I highly recommend checking out Cuyahoga National Park. Number 35, Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania has plenty of forest land and a total of 121 state parks. That actually ranks them 8th in the country by number of state parks. And while they don't have any one thing that just jumps off the page, a good chunk of the Appalachians do pass through Pennsylvania, even if it's not one of the most impressive stretches. Pennsylvania also shares a decent stretch of coastline with Lake Erie, and in addition, they have some really nice gorges and rivers here. Number 34, North Dakota. The crown jewel of North Dakota is Theodore Roosevelt National Park. It's a nice crossing point where the Great Plains meets the rugged Badlands. This area has some scenic overlooks, painted canyons, interesting rock formations, and an intricate series of mesas. And it's not the only place to see mountains in North Dakota. There's also the Killdeer Mountain Range. But aside from that, yeah, most of North Dakota is pretty flat and barren. Number 33, South Carolina. South Carolina is all about the trees. From their rich green canopies to the bald cypress swamps. Seriously, they have some wicked-looking trees in this state. And nothing quite says South Carolina like a carriage ride through a canopy of trees. Cypress Gardens is a particularly nice spot to explore their swamps. And the Boardwalk Loop in Congaree National Park stands out as well. Then, of course, let's not forget Myrtle Beach and Hilton Head Island. Number 32, Rhode Island. Honestly, a state this small is kind of tough to rank. There isn't a whole lot there to begin with, but what it has, outside of Providence that is, certainly has its charm. For starters, they have an impressive and, dare I say, underrated coastline. It's a great spot for exploring ocean bluffs, cliffs, and lighthouses. There's not much to see here outside of their coastline, though, which is what's holding their ranking to the bottom half of this list. In number 31, Texas. Texas is known for large stretches of open prairies. Some people might think that warrants a spot in the bottom 10. On the flip side, they also have 2 national parks in the quaint Texas hill country. Those things sort of balance out. With desert mountains to the west near Big Bend and Guadalupe Mountains National Parks, and forests to the east, Texas has more to offer than just open prairies. And if you haven't been to hill country, I advise spending some time there. It's nice. And with that, we have wrapped up the second video in this 5-part series. We're about to crack the halfway point, so stay tuned as we'll hit states 30 through 21 in the next video. And as always, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for joining me.